As always, it really becomes difficult to speak after the meditation music. It always feels like, I think this is it. But we are going to start our program. But before we start, I just have two things I wanted to say. First of all, every year we know that our own Utpaladi, Dr. Utpala Mukherjee's birthday. So I just wanted to wish her happy birthday first. And a little bit about our speakers today. We have Dr. Dolores Santamaria and Aditi Sinha. So let me spotlight. And Aditi here. Can we not put both?
No, we will. Just go for it.
So Dr. Dolores Santamaria, she is a certified American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology. She is the director of the Headache Center at Allegheny Health Network. She is certified as a headache specialist by the United Council for Neurologic Subspecialties and is committed to providing patients with personalized and compassionate expertise through multifaceted treatment and care. But above all, she is a devotee of the mother. And Aditi, as you all may already know, she's a devotee and she has grown with the mother's help and care. So without further, I will request Aditi and Dr. Santamaria to say about today's topic, transformation of consciousness and neurosciences.
Hi, everyone. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Aditi Sinha, and as my dad just gave a little brief introduction, I've grown up in the Sri Aurobindo Yoga Foundation, so I've been lucky enough to have been born and raised with Sri Mother and Sri Aurobindo's love. A couple of months ago, I met Dolores and we got to talking about her faith and how it intertwines with her career as well. And so came this discussion. So today's talk is called The Transformation of Consciousness and Neurosciences. And Sri Mother and Sri Aurobindo's teachings are meant to move us forward as a species, move forward spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. They have written that the way we transform the world is how we transform ourselves. And to do this, I believe it's important to understand our minds and bodies more, to learn how we can truly apply these teachings. And today we'll be diving into just that. So to set the stage for Dolores, I will explain our three brains that take us from thinking to doing to being. The first brain is called the neocortex. It's the newest, most evolved in human beings. The second is called the limbic brain, or the chemical brain, the emotional brain, which is responsible for regulating our internal chemical order. And lastly, there's the cerebellum, the reptilian brain, which is the seat of our subconscious mind. The neocortex is the seat of your conscious awareness. It's the thinking brain. It loves to gather information. So every time you learn something new, you create a new synaptic connection. Your brain will physically change. Your mind is your brain in action. We can make our brain fire in different sequences and patterns. And whenever we make our brain work differently, we are physically changing our mind. So if you apply and personalize what you've learned, you will have to modify your behavior in some way. And if you change your actions and do something differently, it means you will have a new experience. Your body is called your unconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference between the actual experience in reality or the emotion that you create when you think about that experience. So to the body, it's happening right then and there, whether it's in a positive or negative light. The frontal lobe is the seat of your awareness. As you begin to become aware of who you don't want to be, the frontal lobe quiets down the thoughts and circuits of the old self. You begin to biologically break down the circuits of the brain, and those nerve cells no longer fire or wire together. When you begin to think of a new way of being, your mind begins to naturally fire new patterns. When you begin to make your brain work differently, you're changing your mind, the new self. You begin to install the neurological hardware to change the experience before it actually happens. It's not as easy to change these neural pathways. As you try to create new neural pathways, you have old pathways set. So as you begin to fire new thoughts, old thoughts will come up. But with persistence and intention, the new thought will become the loudest voice in your head, and the brain has to seal that circuit more permanently. There is a glue in your brain that seals the circuit, which is called the neurogrowth factor, but there's only a certain amount of this glue to go around. So it steals the glue from the neighboring circuits, and this is what changes the consistency of your thoughts. This biologically and neurologically changes your brain and your old self. And this is the science of changing your mind. Your behavior matches your intention. Your action is equal to your thoughts. Your mind and body begin working together. You are teaching your body emotionally what your mind intellectually understood. Knowledge is for the mind, but experience is for the body. You begin to change your genetic expression. And this is the change that I believe through Sri Mother and Sri Aurobindo's teachings, we can learn to pass down. This has to be repeated over and over again, so many times that it becomes second nature. When your body and mind work together, you activate the third brain, the seat of your subconscious mind. And when you get to this level of memorizing an internal chemical order, it becomes so innate in you that it is who you are. There's no person, no thing, no experience which can remove you from it. Now you are in a state of being. And this is how we transform the world through transforming ourselves. Dolores, I hope that was a good intro for you.
Thank you so much, Aditi.
Thank you.
It's absolutely right. Neuroscience advanced so much. And the last time we met, we talked about how amazing the platform right now is. And we made a reference to Joe Dispenza. And that was his TED Talk, who actually showed us how those neurons are wired together and how from thinking to doing to being, you can transform your life. What's amazing about all this, that it was all mentioned about how close it comes to the teaching of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And when I was talking to Aditi, she said, sometimes we're so involved in the spiritual life that seeing something tangible helps to reorient us and to see that wherever they're saying on the spiritual level, we actually can see and feel on a material level. And that's how I would like to breach what we talk about the complexity of our brain and how we can experience and changing who we are. If you look at the brain, it's such an amazing organ. And the function, how it perceives things, it's through the mind. Mother and Sri Aurobindo actually mentioned that the mind is our sixth sense, and that's actually true. However, if we look at the material, at the matter itself, the brain has close to 100 billion neurons. And if you put them like a sheet, one on top of another, you can actually formulate 5,000 miles, which is the distance from Los Angeles to London. That's how many neurons we have in our brain. And all these neurons has to communicate and beautifully assemble the connectivity. And that's exactly what Aditi was talking about, all this neuronal connection. So they communicate with the electrical and biochemical impulses. And there's a lot of neurotransmitters in them, the self, to perform this really complex net of working. And if you think about that electricity that our brain creates in 1 minute, it actually can be compared to the cell phones and all over the world working in 1 day. You can imagine the power that involves. But we work and we do things routinely. And when we're involved in routine, we don't pay attention. And that's how sometimes it's so difficult to remember what we ate last night. But when we're altered by the experience, when we remember the first time we saw or observed the ocean, or when we remember when our first child was born, we remember that really well because we pay attention to that. And something biochemically happened in that moment that actually causes us to remember that. And that experience altered us forever. So the amazing part about Mother, how she asked us, and she worked so diligently on a cellular level, and she differentiated different levels of gradation of the cells that respond differently to how we feel. But she left us a lot of messages, but the biggest message she left is, she said, be simple and be happy and express that joy. And believe me, when we're on that state, something is changing. The problem is it's really difficult to continue in that state because life happens, stress happens. Sometimes we maladjust, we don't adjust ourselves really well. And so we're constantly on that fight and flight state that activates so many damaging neurotransmitters that lead us to the disorder, disease, and disbalance. So how we can constantly, willingly acquire this amazing state of happiness. And that's why this Joe Dispenza experience comes really amazing, how he was actually primary care physician. He was seeing 30 patients a day, really work up on prescribing things and just didn't pay that much attention to it. And one day this patient came and he saw the chart, really big like this. And he said, what? I cannot imagine, what? This patient is still around? How he's coming to my office today? And this patient was diagnosed 10 years ago with lethal, incurable, end-stage cancer, and actually was visible. So he sat down with this man, and this man was such a simple-minded. He came to the office and said, hi, doc, how are you doing? He said, how are you still around? He said, I do not know. I just woke up every morning saying, thank you, Lord, for another day. I'm just so happy to be here. Can you just give me another day? I just really wanted to see how my kids are graduating from the college, how I really want to see my, grandkid. So he was asking every morning for another day. Joe Dispenza goes completely crazy. He said, I cannot believe it. Just by saying that, you're changing all that genetics, all the morphology. You beating the cancer every day. So he quit to be primary physician, and he went all over the Europe, and he visited the neuroscience centers, and he participated actively in a lot of research. And that's exactly what he concluded. If you are persistently think about what you really want to experience or what you really want to be, and enclose that, you developing, how's he call it, neuronal plasticity. So suddenly your brain adapts to what you really want to do. We know this laws of metaphysics, wherever you project, you attract, but this goes beyond. That's why Mother was saying every time we're reading Sri Aurobindo, we develop new connections, we develop new cells. And that has so much truth in that. My personal experience with the patients, and I always tell them, I don't want you as a patient. You don't belong here. You are, by birth, you have a right to be completely healthy. You have a right to be completely free of this disbalance, not to be on any medication. But through all my experience and all my practices, as I was practicing neurology attracted me exactly because of this fascinating brain activity, what else we can do in there. Unfortunately, all research are focused on pharmaceuticals and how to make money. And as we all know, this is really corrupted world right now. However, there's a lot of right now awakening by the pressure of transformation, but the pressure of supramental, and scientists as Joe Dispenza and a lot of on that way right now are revealing this subconscious truth if we really focus on that. So I was practicing in West Virginia for 5 years, and it was really tough to see patients come into the office. And I classified as the 3 types of patients. People, one, they never come to the doctors. They don't know what doctors are. They just really attuned to this amazing balance on their body. They know exactly what to do every day, how to take care of this very matter, this temple of ours. Other people, they would like to visit doctor just to check. And those normally prompt to suggestions. So those people will heard about that it's important to do annual checkups, to check your cholesterol, to see what blood pressure is, what's happening with the mammogram, what's happening with colonoscopy. So all this are perfectly fine. And sometimes they come with fear. And when they come with fear, they open up to other suggestions. Well, believe me, they encounter a provider that also fearful, because we do not know anything about medicine, right? Holistic medicine. We just basically, we learn how to identify symptoms and to give a label, and that medication comes after that. So when the patients start kind of sharing the concerns, we get concerned. So we're trying to justify the visit, and we're trying to find, a symptom, a medication, and that leads to more fear from the patient. And suddenly this patient is hooked to come for the visits, and then they find something, and that's that category of patient. And then there's another category of patients that are acquired this role of being sick, and they really like that. They like attention that most likely they did not receive from home or from family. So they come to the doctor, they share everything. They like all the medications. They experience exactly what you tell them they're going to experience. And if they have a good provider, they'll experience less side effects. If they have a provider that's afraid, they'll experience all exactly side effects that the prescriptions is. And they go from hospital to hospital, and they'll live their life, and this is their life, and you have to respect that. And I think that's why Mother put me in there, to just kind of identify all these patients and encourage those that doesn't belong there and help those that need it. And of course, variety of medications that are available for them. So when I was practicing in West Virginia, having a remarkable case, she was 24 years old, and she was morbidly obese, as the majority of patients in West Virginia, unfortunately. So when she came to the office, she had diabetes, she has high blood pressure, her cholesterol was really high. She had persistent headaches, and I'm a headache specialist, so that's why she came to see me. But as always, with a new patient, I spend some time to just kind of let them understand what is this body is for, and how we can use it wisely to experience the joy, the energy, the happiness. But how you can do that if you wake up every morning and you're tired, or you cannot just think clearly, or you did not sleep well because you have so much tissue that just completely clogged your throat, and you just woke up because you're snoring, you don't have enough oxygen going to the brain. So we sit down and I explain the importance, how our body is this, if you want to say, wired so intelligently. It's literally, it's a universe. And we have 4 really important filters. And it comes like this. So the first one that kind of encloses all is our skin. And it's porous. So when you sweat, it actually eliminates a lot of toxins. So it's the first filter, right? And that's why when you exercise, not only you bring a lot of endorphins, but you also sweat all that you don't need through the skin. Another really important filter is our kidneys, right? They filtrate everything every morning throughout the day. It's really depending how you treat them. So hydration is really important, but it's not only hydration, it's exactly what you hydrate it with, right? And the water, H2O, it's the best hydration you can provide to your kidneys. However, if they overload with proteins, which thank you for, Mediterranean and the Indian cuisine, we don't have that much animal proteins, but you still can clot it with the different ones. So again, they can suffer. When they clot it, your machine is not running really well. Another really important filter is our lungs. And unfortunately, when we live in the big cities and we're exposed to a lot of pollutions, that also diminished our exchange of oxygen and also difficult our state of be happy. I always gonna kind of deviate that to the joy and happiness. And then the last but not least, and really important one that I love personally so much, it's our liver. And it's like a little alien. It sits behind your right lower rib cage. And if you take a small piece of that and you reproduce exact environment from your body, you will recreate the normal usual size. That's why I think, and this is like an alien living in us. But it has such an important function because what it does, it eliminates every single toxin that comes from food or from the medication. By the way, sugar and alcohol has really similar chemical formula that the liver is not able to differentiate. So if you eat a lot of sugar, it goes directly to the liver and it's like a tsunami for that. And what it does directly, it's trying to eliminate all that excess. And because sugar, refined sugar, comes without appropriate like, you know, a sugar cane that has this vegetable that gives you time to assimilate that and to digest that and have that appropriate metabolism. When it's refined, it doesn't have that time. So when it goes there, it's direct, it's immediate, will produce that cholesterol that accumulates just right first around that, then goes to the tissues, to the organs, and then to the vessels. So when I was explaining that all to her and saying, you see, your body right now is in severe stress because your body is running marathon right now. You have more cells that you need, all your organs unclotted. I can see your liver suffering, and most likely you do have a fatty liver, which we can differentiate and diagnose right away just by looking at what is your physique are. She was listening such a careful, with so much attention, and she said, so what should I do? I said, this is really easy. Every time you have something in front of you, just ask, are you going to make me healthy or are you going to make me sick? So she started doing that. And of course, she amplified more stuff. She went into whole food diet. She went into different ways. She started exercises every day. And her exercise was not jumping. She was just walking around because of her weight. And throughout 4 years that I was there, she was changing. And one day she came and I couldn't recognize her. She lost so much weight. She came with a water bottle instead of the honeydew. And she said, Dr. Santamaria, I just want to let you know you're not my doctor anymore. I don't have any more headaches. And I lost 150 pounds. And I'm right now about to go to the gym. And I lost her as a patient. And for me, that was the goal fulfilled because that's my goal, not to have any patients. So how we can extrapolate that state of happiness, it's how we're paying attention to everything we're doing every day. And when you're paying really delicate attention to what comes in, what comes out, what do you do throughout the day, and specifically what you think about yourself. Because if you're going to think this is too tough, this is too, it's impossible, it's exactly how it's going to be. If you're going to say, you know what, this is easy, I can do it, and let's just do it one step at a time. Suddenly your body will be really plausible to that because you receive a command. And that's what Aditi was saying about all these connections, all this neuronal plasticity. So as we're introducing ourselves to a completely different path of knowing that this very matter, this very cells can listen to you, can be attentive to everything you want to tell them, they're there to execute that. Subconscious mind is that little yes sir when you actually doing it throughout the day and at night. That's why mother was paying so much and saying that it's so important how we're going to sleep, how we're going to program ourselves, as well as how we're waking up. What is our mood when we wake up? What the first thing we say when we're waking up? And that's why she's saying the importance about the gratitude. But as I was going and introducing all this, I would like to make a bridge and kind of remind ourselves what the mother has to say about today's. And I just want to deviate all our attention right now to her because today is her birthday. And she always wanted the best for her children. So what I would like to do, I just would like to share my screen today. Can I just share my screen? Host disabled participant script sharing. So if you can just activate that for me.
Do you see the share
Thank you so
screen?
much. Yep. Okay, share this one. Okay. Right. So, okay, first of all, I would like to, let me see if I can minimize this. Okay. So again, today is really important day, and I think just to be really grateful to what Mother, her legacy and Sri Aurobindo has to tell us. I would like to, let me see if I can pass it like this, yes. Everything that I'm going to say specifically about their reference, I would like to make as an offer at the lotus feet of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So the Mother did an amazing work on the transformation, and that was her legacy. That's how she explored this very same body, and she had so many amazing remarks in the agenda. And I would like you to listen one of her and we all know about the prayer of the cells.
The prayer of the cells in the body. Now that by the effect of the grace, we are slowly emerging out of inconscience and waking to conscious life. An ardent prayer rises in us for more life, more consciousness. O Supreme Lord of the universe, we implore thee, give us the strength and the beauty, the harmonious perfection needed to be thy divine instruments upon earth.
And we know too that she made a pact with the nature. And we know really well from all the sadhaks how they were saying that she asked them to count all the flowers, and every flower had the significance. And every time she shared the flower, then she was talking to the nature, saying that she transformed that day so many people. And we know that she's continuing doing that through her work on a subtle level. Now, this testimony from her, from the agenda, remarks her own aspiration when she was early in her own ways to share with her work on the cells.
No, rather, I don't know for others, but for a very long time in life, when there is an illness, some illness of any kind, automatically the cells forget everything, all their sadhana and everything. And it's only slowly when you get out of the illness that the cells begin to remember. And, yes. And then my ambition was, I remember that many years ago, my ambition was that the cells should remember when being ill, which was absurd because it would have been better to start to have no illness. But then, now, for a time it was like that. Well, the first time that the cells remembered Oh, I was very happy. But now it's the opposite. That is, as soon as the disorder comes, the self first they got how to say, a little anxious. Oh, we are so bad that we are still catching it. And then that was a period. Then afterwards, there was the impression, oh, you want to teach us a lesson. We have something to learn. That was already much better, a kind of eagerness. And now there is an intense joy and a kind of power, a power that comes, a power of aspiration and the power of realization that comes with the sense we are winning a victory. We are winning a new victory. That is my condition of these last days.
And she continues that talk, and this is a little bit longer. Specifically, pay attention to the end when she said, she shares her experience, but how she pays attention to the body and to the envelope. And she said, that's the secret. Listen to this.
Same consciousness. This consciousness I have in what we can call the material mental, that is the collective consciousness of the cell. But this morning it was in the cells themselves, this consciousness, this same consciousness. And it was, truly it was miraculous, with the impression that there is nothing impossible. It comes, it stays in spite of everything, whatever I do, even if I see. And it goes. And when it's gone, I can make an effort, it doesn't come back. But so long as it is there, it is all powerful, it dominates everything. And yes, the whole world seems to change. And yet this sentence of Shirobino, all was changed and yet everything was the same. You know that? It was exactly.
Et alors, ce n'est plus qu'un choix. On choisit que ce soit comme cela, ou comme cela, ou comme cela.
Yes, this same thing. Yes, life and what the human beings call life and death. That the continuation of this present organization, or its cessation. It was absolutely a question of choice. It's something like a choice. When there are some who say the divine's will or the supreme's will, it's a way of saying, but it is something that chooses. And there was at the same time the exact, it was more than a feeling, it was a lived knowledge of what is the individual, and why the individual. It was in what way the Supreme becomes the individual, and how does he can continue to be the individual or stop to be the individual. Now, naturally, it has no meaning what I say, but at that time it was exactly the exact perception. The individual is that position taken by the Supreme, and it is choice to continue on. It becomes like this, you see. No more mental at all. It's very difficult to express because of that. It becomes the living experience in just what makes the individual, and how this individual can remain individual although it is united and perfectly united in perfect consciousness with the Supreme. It takes about 15 or 20 minutes, a complete stability. And I continue doing it during the time of my toilet exercise, when I wash my mouth and gargle. Purposely, it comes at that time to show that it's absolutely independent from the activity, and it comes more often at that time than when I sit in meditation. When I sit in meditation, generally begins a kind of all-round earth activity or even universal activity, and become conscious of that. But this body's experience enough, to have the body experience enough, living your body. It's why the ancient sages or saints didn't know what to do with the body, because they went out of it and sat, and then the body is no more concerned. But when you remain active, then it's the body that has the secret. That's the secret. Yeah.
And again, she made so many remarks on how we have to conduct ourselves and what we should do, even in the routines as a goggling ourselves and paying attention to that consciousness. But more so, she was evoking different qualities in us. We're all Bhaktas and we love her so much, but she also wants us to be a hero warriors. That's why for the students, and I consider myself her students, she said, you should repeat this every single day. Make of us the hero warriors we aspire to become. May we fight successfully the great battle of the future that is to be born against the past that seeks to endure, so that the new things may manifest and we may be ready to receive them. So much force, so much strength in that. And that's another programmation if you do it in the morning. You woke up with this courage, you woke up with this progress, aspire to become that. And again, she always smiles from all this, that she's all, and we can see her in the smiles of everybody. And that's exactly the joy she wants us to experience, because that's going to change that fight and flight to joyful, peaceful, calm, and that she can mold herself in us and work in that amazing journey of the transformation. And then she says,
All can be done if the God touch is there.
and then she leaves us this mantra. And amazingly, she repeats that until the end. Like in this agenda, May 5th, 1973. I specifically chosen this one because you can hear in her voice her aspiration until the end.
May 5, 1973.
And her music, as you all really know, it transforms every single nature of ourselves. And I love how he always starts the program with her piece of joy. And I think it links so much to our presentation today. And of course, Savitri. She said, Savitri, the supreme revelation of Sri Aurobindo's vision. And she asked us to read it every day, find a time to do so.
It was the hour before the gods awake.
So much form, so much force, so much transformation. And then I choose this passage from The Supreme by Mona Sarkar. And there's a whole passage of his conversation with the mother. But she describes in detail how she took every single cell in our body and how she realized that some cells are more flexible, more open, more willing to change. And she heard them saying, what thy willest, O Lord. Or sometimes in response, it surrenders itself entirely with gratitude. Make us worthy of the work. Make us worthy of the existence. And then she said, all this and much more that I cannot express. Again, this is all in us. She left us this legacy. And we're all feeling this amazing aspiration, and our psychic with this as a flame goes up to her feet and touches that amazing supramental transformation that's all around us. We just have to be subtle and be willingly, consciously participate in this transformation. And then we're coming really close to this amazing celebration. And again, his birth is eternal, but she mentioned in her own writing, one step more towards eternity. And he left us a message and the promise in her voice.
One day, the little more. One day, and all the half deed is done. One day, and all the unborn begun. A little path and the great goal. A touch that brings the divine hope. Hill after hill was climbed, and now, behold, the last tremendous brow, and the great rock that none has trod, a step, and all is sky and God.
And for us, nothing else left but just to repeat, Ma Shri Aurobindo, Ma Shri Aurobindo, Ma Shri Aurobindo. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dolores. And to end, I'm just going to read one excerpt from the Savitri. Forever love O beautiful slave of God, O lasso of my rapture's widening noose, become my cord of universal love. The spirit ensnared by thee forced to delight of creation's oneness sweet and fathomless, compelled to embrace my myriad unities and all my endless forms and divine souls. O mind, grow full of the eternal peace. O word, cry out the immortal litany. Built is the golden tower, the flame child born.
Thank you, Dolores. Thank you, Aditi. If anyone wants to ask anything or has any question, any comment, you can do.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
So what was the inspiration behind this topic?
I think the inspiration is to realize, although we are in this physical body, there's so much unseen that's happening, and it's possible. Everything is possible. If you bring that amazing joy, simplicity, and attune yourself to this very same instrument that the Mother and Sri Aurobindo right now working in, you can experience, and by experience you can be transformed and be more malleable to what right now is happening. I think right now we're under so much pressure to that, you can call it crushing circumstances because what's happening right now all over the world. But if you keep up that amazing joy, peace, and happiness, you can see how that actually can be seen on the biological molecular level, that you can explain how you can differentiate, how it can be so abysmal between one group of, and we're all in a different a spiritual journey, and of course we'll have to go and play our role in this lila, but you still can change and get the best of it. So I guess that's just the bridge.
That's it. There was another question by Dr. Tula. How would you define the mind?
Yes, that's a really good question. I think nobody better can define the mind than Sri Aurobindo, because he is definitely beyond mind. But I think the mind is a sixth sense. I think this is the step really close to the mind of light, and that's exactly the substance that he was working and he gave to Mother. So this is basically what can be moldable and can be adjustable for us to come closer to all the experiences. But it's not even about the experiences, because we cannot even translate them, right? Because we just so fractionate here in our sentimental and physical and mental ego. But mind itself, I think, comes closer to what can be reflected on the body. So yes, it is a sixth sense. As we know really well, we have all the five senses. So that's basically a function that can be not only regulating everything else that's happening in our body down, but also can open us to the higher possibility above. That's how I envision that.
Thank you. If anyone has any other question, we can take. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining today's celebration. And thank you, Dr. Dolores, again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Everyone, thank
You
you
said
for
it very nicely.
It was
Right.
very
Try to
knowledgeable.
understand.
Beautifully explained, Dr. Dolores and Aditi.
Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward next time.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
Happy birthday to all.
Yes, happy birthday to the mother.